Wow, what an amazing set after a hiatus of an incredible 16 years, and that's how you perform. Incredible. Matt, talk us through, that was an incredible band. Talk us through some of the members and their background and stuff.
Some of the best northern session boys around, and one honorary southerner. So, yeah, we had on drums Errol Rollins, from the lineage of the Rollins family, who anyone who knows the soul music in England might know well. And on sax, Athol Ransom from the Haggis Horns, who some of you might know. Errol also plays with them. Dan Carpenter on trumpet and on some of the horn arrangements, who worked with Level 42 and Incognito, Heavies, all those kind of bands. And our old rhythm section there, which is Jasper Wilkinson on guitar, Ollie Collins on bass, and on BVs, Doreen Edwards, and of course, the mighty Dawn Z on lead vocals.
So before we come back to you, Matt, then, Dawn, give us a bit about your history and how you came to be in Jersey Street.
Well, I was doing quite a bit of session work, coming from mainly reggae, I would say, really. And our other Jersey Street member, which is Neil, he's not with us, he wanted me to do some vocals on a track that he'd put together. And I think from then, they never let me go. They've kept me prisoner all this time.
Have you done other stuff since or simultaneously as well?
Yeah, because I've done a bit of work with New Order. I think 2005 Crystal. I've done quite a bit of work with Victor Haynes, which is a soul singer from Manchester. Various bits and bobs. Mm-hmm.
And Matt, you've also, or you still play in a relatively big band?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my day job is still the Brand New Heavies. They won't like me calling it that, obviously.
And that's in fact how we first met, because when India left Brand New Heavies, she was replaced, particularly from a touring perspective, by an artist called Honey La Rochelle.
Yeah.
And Honey La Rochelle we worked very closely with when she launched her solo album, and we did a showcase much like this.
Yes.
And you were in that band.
Yeah, as was Dan, our trumpeter.
Exactly.
And yeah.
And that was I think about 8 or 9 years ago. But yeah. So that's when we first met. And then
it was a great gig.
And then came back to this. So
it's a small soul world.
Yeah, it's a small world. Yeah. So 15 years since your last recording was released in 2005. So what happened? Why? How did this album kind of come about?
I mean, the easiest thing to say is life got in the way, I guess.
Oh, I love that.
We were, me and Neil had some kids, and then Neil moved to Barcelona, and it just, we just sort of dissipated slightly, and then years later, we were just talking about some tracks we started around about 16, 17 years ago, that we'd always done programmed music mostly, but I think we'd grown a bit bigger than our capabilities back in the day there, and we sort of really we were always writing string lines and wanting live drums and a lot more of this kind of a lot more of the live jazzy influence, but we didn't really have the chops or the sort of technical new to pull it off at that point, And then years later, me and Neil was over from Barcelona. He was just visiting, and I found a folder called Jersey Street Album 3 on my Mac, and I showed it to him. We opened it up, and we were like, "Ooh, these are heavy." And then they thought, "Well, you know what? We owe it to these tracks to finish them," which is basically kind of in a very light and easy way. Just let's just finish these as they are, without anything thought about labels or market or anything like that. And I think maybe that serendipitous thing is maybe why it works, because we didn't have any. The only thing in our mind was the music.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we sort of polished it up and burnished it a bit and re-recorded some put a lot of post strings and horns on, and there you go. It turns out that a lot of people actually liked it.
And one of the track you finished with, "Love Will Be Our Guide," you actually released that before. I mean, personally, I think the version that's on the album is actually a lot better than the version you released originally. So talk us through that sort of song. I agree.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, because that's how we wrote that song. We had it in our heads as an Earth, Wind and Fire type big disco-y, in your face kind of chords all over the place, horns, and then we worked with a great producer, Mark Picciossi in Chicago, who wanted to put it out as a big dance floor banger, really, which is what he did. And we weren't complaining from a financial point of view. However, we always wanted to do that version, and so it was really nice to put it on this album as kind of how we always felt it. You know, to us it was a rare groove,
and we wanted it to sound.
Yeah, so that's how the track, the version that's on the album is probably what me, Dawn, and Neil had in mind for it. You know, but
initially, yeah.
You know, the other one, I'm glad they did it.
Yeah,
You know, it was an interesting journey to go on. You know?
Mr. Picciati is a very talented young man.
And you talked about that there is a contrast in your music. So the singles that you've put out are more sort of electronic, house orientated, a bit of gospel, but soulful house, that kind of thing. But your albums, and particularly this one, are more sort of soul, jazz orientated. So talk us through all that.
I would say that's not deliberate, is it? That's,
no, that certainly is not deliberate. I think it was probably just the vibe at the time. Do you know what I mean? We were just feeling a bit cool and...
Yeah. I mean, I would say all our stuff really is just... It's soul and jazz to us, but if you do something at 123 BPM and put a kick behind it, people will call it deep house. But, you know, deep house was soul music from Chicago originally, wasn't it? And that's, you know, so that's where that will be our thinking on it. It's just soul music that occasionally it's at the right tempo for a house thing. So you end up getting and maybe you know, when you're on labels like Junior Boyzo and that are more house orientated, people think that. But to us, it was always organic soul. It just happened to have some programming behind it. I'd say that's the
because we always wanted to write good songs, didn't we?
The songwriting was always at the core for us. You know?
Yeah.
So how did it all start? Because as you mentioned, Junior Boy's Own, which was the label that you was first signed to, and your first single came out in 1998.
No.
Really?
Wow.
1990 when?
1998.
I went born then, honey. What's up with you? I'm only joking.
So how did that all come about? How did you get together? How did you get that deal? What happened?
I think, was that Nobody But My Lord? That'd be that
Yeah, it
track,
was, wasn't it?
Which is essentially a gospel track, really.
Yeah, it is gospel-y.
You know, but at a kind of housey tempo.
Yeah.
And Terry Farley, those guys put it out. And then I was doing a session for Neil when we were working with Loved Up, who are, you know, any Manx will know as nice big room house DJs essentially. And then I started working with Neil Ando on the back of that, and I guess it kind of grew from there, you know. But the idea of any game plan, obviously, or roadmap would be that would be credited us with far too much forward planning. It's a bit like, oh, is this happening now? Okay.
How did that then lead to getting signed to Junior Boy's Own?
Well, we just did 2 or 3 singles with JBO. And then at the time we put, there's a lot of vinyl, Jersey Street vinyl out on different labels from around about that era. A lot of which isn't on our albums, actually, you know. I'd love to collate it all at some point.
That's true.
On some, you know, labels like Yellow and...
What's this?
Gillies,
there's one from Gillies, Electric.
Electric Chair, which is, you know, the Unabombers, Manchester, you know. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't bring them all out, but we run a lot of the kind of the cooler underground labels at the time.
So how did the Glasgow Underground thing come about?
I think Kevin was just a big fan of the JBO stuff, and then we delivered an album to him that was full of like all kind of tempos and jazz and soul and
random.
But you know, I think he dug it. You know, I don't think he
was feeling it.
Yeah. I don't think he was quite sure what it was, but he was like, yeah, I'll put it out. You know, but you're right. Probably the ones that came out in 12 would be the ones that were a little bit more. That you would probably play, you know, you would term deep house now, I guess, you know. But that was never intentional on our behalf. That was just some more soul music for us, just at a certain tempo.
And the last of that series of 12s that you put out was 2005, Blessed is the Man, which was a lovely track.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, talk to me first about that track in particular.
You're going to lead on that one, Dawn.
Wow. Do you know, I totally forgot about that track. I mean, I can't remember how it goes, to be totally honest. But, you know, a few people have been talking about that track. I was so surprised when... Who were we talking to the other day?
Yeah,
Earth and Rainy.
Yeah.
It brought that back to our attention, and I was just so shocked. I don't know, I think we just wanted to be, like, just go on a deep, cool level. It's just not planned. I think sometimes we just do things on a vibe. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was the vibe we were just feeling at that particular time, why Blessed is the Man comes out. And Blessed is the Man, it's actually, some of it is a bit of a psalm. Do you know what I mean? And it's good that, you know, people can bless each other for a change. Because we're usually cursing each other, aren't we? So, yeah, I think that's what inspired us to write Blessed is the Man. You know?
And then what happened after that? Because obviously there's then been this 15 years.
I guess that was the last
life
thing
got
we
in the
did.
way, as you said.
Yeah,
Children and all kinds of stuff, marriages and stuff, and so we all like had a hiatus of some sort. And then we decided to put this album out. And as you said, I mean, we just looked at this album as a piece of art. Do you know what I mean? We weren't looking for no high accolades. We just wanted to put good music out with some fantastic musicians. And that's what we've done, really.
And how did it feel to be performing live again?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Kind of weird, amazing, but weird as well. Well, it's so ingrained in what we've all been doing since we were, 15, 16. This is, for me, the longest I've never not played. Probably the same for
Nothing
you,
live,
isn't it?
it's been...
So even while I was doing it, it was quite emotional, actually, looking around and seeing some of my old best friends and thinking, I've not done this with them for, for the longest time.
But good.
But
I guess it's strange for two reasons. One is that you're obviously playing a lot anyway, generally, and you haven't been able to do that because of the pandemic. And then secondly, you haven't played with these guys for a very long time.
I mean, us gigging live will be an emotional, amazing experience anyway for us because it's been that long, whatever.
It's been a while.
But for it also to be on top of a worldwide pandemic where no musicians played. So it was a bit, for us that was heavy for a number of reasons.
Like getting out of jail, getting out of prison, getting out of prison.
Yeah. We just need to be going to the pub now, but never mind. It is what it is.
So I wanted to also talk to you a little bit about the Manchester scene. And because jazz has gone through a bit of a renaissance recently, and there's lots of different jazz musicians coming through, and Manchester is as vibrant as ever in terms of musically, and you're a key part of the Manchester scene in a number of different ways. Not only because of Jersey Street, but also you're a teacher, for example, Matt, and you teach a lot of the students that come through that then go to create bands, etc., etc. So tell us a bit about the sort of soul and jazz scene in Manchester and how it's changed over the years.
I mean, it's never gone away. It's always occasionally the spotlight peers back on Manchester as though something brand new is happening, but really, it's always that vibrant. It's just when people choose to look, they notice it. But so to me, it feels like a renaissance because someone's called it that. But you could always go out and watch, amazing players left, right, and centre in Manchester, and it's just had a bit of a spotlight, maybe from Gondwana Records, Matt and Nat Birchill, and kind of there's a bit of a, I suppose they call it a spiritual jazz scene that's sort of appeared up here of late, But Mank was always full of people jamming and going for it, and without an agenda, which has always been, because the very nature of the lack of big labels up here and everything, things aren't driven. The music definitely comes first, and there's never much financial incentive either way. So I guess that means you get less session work, but you get more players who would be session players if they're in London end up writing their own projects. Because there isn't the work they might have if they were down at Ronnie's every week, So, so as a result, you end up with a hotbed of creativity from that. Players who might be doing film sessions or or just pop sessions if they're in London. So you end up with these amazing players doing quite unusual creative stuff, and that's my take on it. Having sort of analysed it for a few years, but to me, there isn't a renaissance. It's the same as it ever was. It's just. People are looking a bit at the moment, which is great.
What do you think of, I mean, you obviously work with a lot of young musicians. We had a young band kick us off tonight, the Secret Night Gang, but you work with lots of young musicians coming through. What's your sort of feeling of what's going on at the moment, the talent that's coming through and
Actually,
stuff?
they're amazing, A lot of my ex-students, they blow me away. They do when I'm teaching them. I'm trying to run out of things to remember to teach them because they're way ahead of the game. But they're really creative. They're really... they've just got a real, let's just try it. They'll try anything, And I really admire that. So it's definitely Marley, Secret, a lot of new bands like that are just really taking risks, and it's quite interesting to hear it all. Yeah.
So now you're back. You've put an album out. You've now performed live for the first time in many years. What's next? What do you want? Where do you want to take this?
Well, we just want to continue making really good music. We're writing, at the moment, and hopefully we've got a few more sketches of art in us. You know what I mean? So that's what we're planning to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year, if what's the name goes away, or what's it's called goes away, we can start doing some live sessions again.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's nothing like live music. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. We always had a big band, a 9-piece band back in the day. So to kind of, to play again and go, oh yeah, right, So thinking about it now, it'd be really nice to tour again and promote music. That would be a dream. Let's see how things go. I guess we just gotta be realistic for now.
Yeah.
So it won't be another 15 years before the next release, and another 16 years before.
Well,
you perform live.
not from our choice. It won't.
So tell people where they can get in touch with you, where they can find you on social media, and where they can find your music and stuff.
Okay, well, I mean, we're on all the usual streaming platforms, that's where but, if you were feeling more like you want some of the money to actually go to the musicians, feel free to go to Bandcamp, search Jersey Street, we're there on Bandcamp.
And so you've got physical product as well as download as well.
Yeah, we didn't do vinyl of this, I know you were asking for some vinyl, we didn't do vinyl for this album, because we just didn't know it was going to be this well received, but a lot of people have asked me, so I'm thinking, it's looking like it's worth us doing. So we're kind of thinking about maybe doing a vinyl with some remixes on. We've got some exclusive remixes. Certain Ratio have done us a really interesting remix, and I've got a couple of irons in the fire for some really, really interesting remixes, and I think that might really work as a double vinyl.
There's definitely a vinyl renaissance. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it's the age group and everything is the right. The music I think suits. It would work on vinyl. We just didn't know whether to take that risk originally when we started because we didn't know how well it was going to be received. So I think that's our plan, to do a vinyl of this with some cool remixes on. Watch this space on that one, I guess. We'll see.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
A pleasure. Thanks for getting us back together.
You're taking a mick.
There's no way we'd have got a live show together without the pressure of someone asking us. So.
True. That's, you give us a nudge.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, thank you very much. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thanks.